Hello, I'm Chris Fowler for College Sports Century. He has the ball, and then he doesn't. And then, oops, he does have it after all. But it's too late. Eric Crouch is flying to the end zone. Another touchdown for Nebraska, and perhaps another national championship. The quarterback who once left school because he wasn't starting now owns the Husker Nation, lock, stock, and website. His own, of course.
Fundamentally, it's the only game in state. It's something for the people of Nebraska. It was created for, by, and with the people of Nebraska.
45, 50, 45, he's gonna go! Holy cow! Touchdown, Tommy Frazier!
As a child growing up, you want to be a Husker. There's no doubt about that. And that was a dream of mine, just being a part of the Big Red tradition.
Holy moly! Johnny the Jet Rodgers just tore them loose from their shoes.
When you get in that stadium, it's an entity unto itself, and it has one sole purpose, and that's to talk, think, breathe, and smell football on a Saturday afternoon, the third largest city in the state of Nebraska.
And the Cornhuskers pour onto the field. 242 consecutive sellouts here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
It means everything. Coach Devaney walked on water. Coach Osborne the same way. Frankie Solich the same way. It's powerful in this state. That's what everybody thinks 12 months a year.
25 straight wins for the Cornhuskers. One of the most dominating stretches in college football history.
The football team doesn't put money in the bank account, but it makes us feel good about being Nebraskans.
With that, you can get excesses. And there are a few people who almost derive their self-esteem from the athletic program. And they're depressed for weeks if you lose a game.
We can't lose. That's how we feel. And it makes it kind of tough on us because a lot of people expect us to blow out almost everybody that we play.
We don't have the pro teams to compete with. We are the lone major 1A program in the state, and people look at our program to be very, very good.
You talk about expecting perfection. Well, I mean, that's all that is acceptable there. If it is a successful year, I promise you, I think the farmers, even though maybe the crops were not as good as they should have been, they're still happy because Nebraska did well.
Out of the Cornhusker tradition that has produced 5 national titles and at least 9 victories every season since 1969, a physically gifted child named Eric was born in Omaha, Nebraska to Ron and Susan Crouch on November 16, 1978.
When he was 5 years old, he says, I'm going to play football when I grow up. That's it. End of story. He started walking when he was 7.5 months. And when he went to his 5-year-old checkup, the pediatrician said, I don't think I've ever seen anybody with such well-developed thigh muscles.
From his first year as an 8-year-old, he was very noticeable, and he had the kind of power and the speed that maybe the mature 10-year-old had.
For all his early physical maturity, Eric also carried a burden left to him after his parents divorced. With his mother working several jobs, he took care of his younger brother.
I relied on him a lot, and he knew that. He just took on the responsibility of making sure that Kyle was always where he should be, or he was up, or he was fed.
It was kind of like my father, in a sense. He raised me a lot with a single parent. He was always there to take care of me, always had to take care of me.
Being a responsible role model for my brother has kind of forced me into growing up and having that added pressure to be responsible, being accountable, to be a leader.
Ron was not around when Eric was growing up. Eric kind of had to take care of the house, and I think he just kind of assumed the role naturally.
Not having that father figure there, every day, of our life makes a difference, but I can't be depressed or unhappy about it.
One man who helped stabilize Eric's world was Fred Petito, football coach at Millard North High School.
I think Coach Petito kind of acted as his father, with both football and kind of with life things, just how to be a better man.
I think that he just felt comfortable talking to me. If that's what he needed to do, he know that, there's not a thing I wouldn't do for him.
As Petito nurtured the talents and attitude of Crouch, the 15-year-old quarterback had caught the eye of Nebraska's legendary coach, Tom Osborne.
Between his freshman and his sophomore year, he was at camp, and Coach Osborne came up and says, "Coach, have you sent film down to this young man, your quarterback?" I said, "Well, Coach, I'd have to send down freshman film because he's just going to be a sophomore."
I thought Eric had great potential. If you have a guy that's got great elusiveness, pretty good arm, and good character, and that kind of speed, you got a pretty good package.
What a night for Millard North quarterback Eric Crouch. Eric Crouch had an incredible game. 85-yard punt return for another one of his 5 touchdowns on the night.
Twice named All-State, Crouch finished with over 5,000 yards rushing and passing. In his 24 starts at quarterback, Millard North won 20 games.
He was being looked at by colleges all over the country. Notre Dame wanted him. He looked at Ohio State. Even though he looked at the other schools, there really was no choice in his mind. He was going to go to Nebraska.
In February of 1997, Crouch made it official. He'd wear red.
Everybody knew about him. He was considered the best player in the state of Nebraska. Everyone's saying, well, he's the guy that's going to lead Nebraska to championships.
If you're going to be remembered as a Nebraska quarterback, you've got to win a national championship or certainly play for one.
You know what the pressure is going to be like, but you really don't know it totally until you get involved in it.
The pressure that awaited Crouch at Nebraska was in the form of competition within his own ranks. When Eric Crouch arrived on campus in the summer of 1997, he faced severe competition from a gifted out-of-state freshman who had been rated as the Cornhuskers' #1 recruit.
Like Eric Crouch, Bobby Newcomb had a dream of playing quarterback at Nebraska. He had prepared well. He had studied the playbook.
He was in New Mexico what Eric was in Nebraska. It was a foregone conclusion to the people of New Mexico that Bobby would come here and be the starter for 4 years.
You could tell right off the bat that Bobby Newcomb was a guy who was tremendously gifted from an athletic standpoint.
Bobby Newcomb, a return man, a wide receiver, a running back, and perhaps a future quarterback. He can do it all.
With Newcomb as a backup, senior Scott Frost guided the undefeated Cornhuskers to a share of the national title. Crouch, meanwhile, sat out the season with an ankle injury and was redshirted.
You've had a great career for 4 years in high school, and all of a sudden you have to sit and watch other people do the job, and that's frustrating. And for a while, it didn't look like he was going to have much of a future at quarterback.
If in some people's eyes they came in at the same level, Bobby went out of that first year at a much higher level. Bobby Newcomb was the next Tommy Frazier.
You know, I got real homesick my first year. Practice would be over Friday at like 3 o'clock, and so after practice I wouldn't even go back to the dorms. I'd just fly on the interstate and go back home, and I wouldn't come back till late Sunday night, early Monday morning before classes started.
The 1998 season proved injury-plagued for Newcomb and Crouch, whose pulled hamstring and hip pointer limited him to 6 starts as Nebraska stumbled to 9-4, its worst record in 3 decades. As the 1999 campaign approached, both players were healthy and ready.
We had 2 outstanding quarterbacks, and we really felt like either one of those guys that we would choose, we're going to have a very, very successful offensive football team.
Of course, Bobby had a little bit of a head start on things at that quarterback spot, and so there was a battle that ensued.
Everybody wants to read about what's going on with Eric and Bobby this week. Who did well yesterday in practice?
Bobby and I, never had any hard feelings towards each other. It was like we always just wanted to do better.
We didn't hang out very much. We were pretty good teammates, but all our relationship was based on the field.
As the season opener approached, it appeared to many players that Crouch had the edge on Newcomb.
It was clear to me and to a lot of other writers, Crouch was a better quarterback and he had a better camp.
Everyone kind of expected Eric to get the job. He's more natural on the option. Newcomb was very flashy. He was great in the open field, but I think Eric just had more of a feel for some aspects of being a quarterback.
When it came time to make a decision, the decision was that Bobby Newcomb was going to be the #1 quarterback.
You want to be the starting quarterback at a national championship team, and I was in that position, and it was the greatest feeling ever.
When Frank named Bobby the starter, Eric went home and do some soul searching.
Everybody kind of knew before practice that something was going on because Eric was gone.
The big rumor had Eric Crouch in Omaha, where he supposedly met with head coach Frank Solich and receivers coach Ron Brown. At the time, they supposedly had to talk him out of quitting.
There was all kinds of questions about Eric. Where's Eric? What's going on with Eric? Did he quit?
I think there's a time in everybody's life where they really have to take themselves out of what they're doing and just kind of look at the big picture. That was a point in my career, in my life, where I stepped back and said, well, do I really want to continue playing football?
In August of 1999, Coach Frank Solich, who had replaced Tom Osborne a year earlier, picked Bobby Newcomb to start in the season opener against Iowa. A despondent Eric Crouch went home to Omaha and sought counsel from his high school coach.
That was the most down I've ever seen him. He was playing the top of his game at that time, but then again, so was Bobby.
That was really a touchy situation, and if guys started picking sides or something like that, it really could have divided our team quite a bit. So I think Eric really kept it to himself.
Eric is a very quiet young man, and a lot of times does not verbalize to you what he's thinking. Certainly a very intelligent young man, but he will keep things to himself on occasion.
It was an emotional time for me. I thought about terminating it right there.
I said, you're going to have a little patience. But the coaches are going to notice your abilities and your drive, but opportunities that you get to remember now, they may be small, but take advantage of them.
Embracing that advice, Crouch maximized his opportunity when he was inserted in the second quarter of a scoreless game against the Hawkeyes.
And off first man to Crouch, touchdown!
Crouch comes off the bench, and he rushes 5 times for 92 yards, and at that point, people thought, I think we got to look at Crouch. And then against Cal, then it was over. He scored a touchdown by catching it.
Goes underneath to Crouch. Look out!
By throwing it.
Down the middle. Got him open. Nobody within 30 yards of it.
And by running it in 1 quarter.
Just 3 days after the victory over California, Solich made an announcement.
We will have Eric Crouch be the quarterback for us. We will have Bobby Newcomb be a wide receiver.
The co-Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, Crouch led the Cornhuskers into the conference championship game against Texas.
They ride him. Crouch has got it. Crouch for the first down. Breaks free. They won't catch him. Touchdown, Nebraska.
He probably is the fastest quarterback maybe that we've had play here at Nebraska. To some people, he's deceptively fast. To others, he's just plain fast.
After that game, I saw where Eric then believed in himself and his ability, that he knew that he could lead this team.
Crouch's 15th and 16th touchdowns of the season lifted Nebraska to a 22-6 win over the Longhorns. In the Fiesta Bowl against Tennessee, his skills were even more visible.
Crouch keeps it himself. Big hole. Crouch across the 20. Crouch to the 10, to the 7-yard line.
You could really see Eric become one with the offense. He became a lot more comfortable running it. It was in the Fiesta Bowl that it just all came together in that game.
Crouch was voted MVP as Nebraska defeated Tennessee to finish 12-1 and reach a #2 ranking. Elevated to #1 in the 2000 preseason, the Cornhuskers were down 24-21 in overtime at Notre Dame in September when Crouch took charge.
Crouch, he has it there for the end zone. It is a touchdown, and Nebraska has won the game.
Crouch's 3 touchdowns against the Irish put him into serious Heisman contention. But after accounting for 20 touchdowns in Nebraska's 7-0 start, his play began to level off. Subpar performances and key losses against Oklahoma and Kansas State left some wondering about the 6'1", 200-pounder's endurance.
Sideline intercepted. Derek Strait. And Strait might go straight to the end zone. Touchdown.
Eric had some ongoing shoulder problems, and it wasn't just one thing either. He's a very physical player and handles the ball, so he takes a lot of physical contact, and he just didn't have the ability that he had before. And he was having pain, and he was limited on how much he could throw and so on.
Crouch already with 11 rushes. This time he's going to put it up in as he throws. Has a man, Newcomb, but it's intercepted.
He knew he wasn't 100%. And there's a fine line whether you go out there and whether you're hurting the football team or whether you're helping the football team. And he felt like that he could still go out and perform and do a great job for us and help us win football games.
The Cornhuskers finished 10-2 by trouncing Northwestern 66-17 in the Alamo Bowl. Going into his senior season, Crouch was on the verge of breaking every major school record for a quarterback. Yet he stayed focused on but one goal, a national championship.
He's had a great career, but, you know, they haven't won a national championship. Frazier won a national championship. Ross got it done. And I think to surpass those guys, despite all the stats, he would have to do that, because that's the bottom line around here.
I don't take that to heart, but no one's harder, you know, on me than myself. I'm going to expect more out of myself than anybody else, and I've always felt that way.
Even as Crouch dealt with such high expectations, he coped with serious responsibilities off the field. In a state where football is king, Eric Crouch has learned that being the starting quarterback at Nebraska carries benefits and burdens.
Next to Tom Osborne, Eric Crouch is the most popular person in Nebraska. He can't walk down a street without people coming over to him.
There's just certain limitations that are put on you around here because no matter where you go in Nebraska, people are going to recognize you as a Nebraska quarterback.
Everything that he does, people are looking at. You know, if he wants to go out and hang out and he hugging on the girl, people going to say, well, I saw Eric doing this.
I was driving to campus and this girl in the back of a car said, I love Eric Crouch, he's a hottie. And then I told him about it. He just kind of giggled about it and just kind of changed the subject.
All the attention he gets, that's just another thing for him. And when he's in the locker room, when he's with everybody else, he's just one of the guys.
I've never seen him panic in any situation. I've never seen him yell. 2 years in the huddle, it's always the exact same. The way he carries himself, it's absolute confidence, but not an ounce of conceit.
In high school, Eric would go in and get his ankles taped. And after every taping session, he'd write the trainers a thank you note. That's the way Eric is. He is very appreciative of what people do for him, and I think he's almost generous to a fault.
He cares about people. He cares about his teammates, coaches, and everybody that's involved with him, and even people that are not involved with him.
I'm just an ordinary guy, trying to lead an ordinary life.
You know, in a way, you feel, you know, a little bit obligated to do things. And the reason for that is that, you know, the state is so supportive.
It's almost like a full-time job for him to be able to do all that stuff, and it's really hard on them because he doesn't like to turn people away or say no, ever.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
It's got to be very difficult, but he would never let on that it bothers him in any way, shape, or form.
He wants to do everything that everybody asked of him, and so consequently he's bombarded with requests. We got to slow him down on that a little bit.
Best quarterback in the nation, number 7, Eric Crouch.
Everything Eric Crouch does, people know about. And because of that, he has to be very careful.
Crouch has been particularly guarded about family matters. After having a daughter, Alexi, in 1999, he and his girlfriend, Nicole Kusgard, kept the news private. While living with Nicole and their daughter 2 years later, the couple quietly took official steps to assure that Alexi would have Eric's last name.
Anything going on with his personal life, he's got to keep things real secretive because he never knows who's going to go say something.
He doesn't reveal a lot about himself personally, and he's definitely image conscious. From the way he dresses to the way he carries himself, it's more like what you'd expect to see from a professional athlete than a college athlete.
Meanwhile, Crouch has been attempting a reconciliation with his father.
When he was growing up, there was times when I probably could have spent more time with him, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're, you know, not really like real close father and son. I got to see him every weekend and stuff, you know, but still, when you're from a divorced family, it's kind of hard. As time went on, we got closer together. Couldn't ask for a better son than what he is, what he does, and what he represents.
You know, I love my dad to death again, so he's a big part of my life. I think lately he kind of realized that the bond that he missed early on that he wanted to develop.
He doesn't hold grudges, and he's thankful now that he can have a relationship with him. A lot of people don't have fathers at all, so he's happy to have him around.
As Crouch continued his personal growth, he thrived on the field. In the 2001 season opener against TCU, he became the school's all-time yardage leader, surpassing Tommy Frazier.
Eric Crouch has a lot of room to run. Eric Crouch cutting back is dangerous. To the 32-yard line.
Despite Crouch's 24-5 record as a starter over his first 3 seasons, his days as a quarterback may be winding down.
If you want to throw the ball and you want to be an NFL quarterback, you don't go to Nebraska to play quarterback.
The last quarterback from here that had a significant pro career was probably Vince Ferragamo. You might not get the big-time passing quarterback here, but in the same light, the pros are going to find you no matter where you go.
Crouch with a great play fake. Touchdown, Nebraska!
I believe he's got a chance to be a great pro. He's got great mobility, gets the ball off on time, and plus he's accurate. You can have all those different abilities, but if you're not an accurate thrower, you're not going to be a good pro.
I've always been a quarterback, and so that's kind of my mentality. You know, I want to be that person. I want to be that leader. I want to be the person that everyone looks to make that big play.
I think the tendency is going to be, let's just use that speed someplace else. Let's not waste all that time trying to make a quarterback out of him. Let's make a running back out of him. Let's make a wide receiver out of him, a defensive back.
The football career comes to an end, and I'll probably do the hospital work. I've done a lot here, and you know, the things that I never thought I'd do in a million years.
Eric Crouch, to me, epitomizes a college football player. I think he's a terrific young man. Playing on Sunday doesn't have a damn thing to do with the kind of college football player and person Eric Crouch is.
Notre Dame let the grass grow to try to slow down Nebraska and Eric Crouch in September of 2000. So all he did was run for 3 touchdowns, the last an overtime winner. But even in defeat, Crouch was a stand-up guy. In 1998, when the Huskers suffered their first home loss in 7 years, the redshirt freshman quarterback was the first player to appear before the media. His willingness to take the heat foreshadowed the leadership that was to come. For College Sports Century, I'm Chris Fowler.